excited, aren't you?
It's here, Kim. Finally. The wait is over.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that you and some of our other girlfriends are going to join us for this wonderful show, Beautifully Driven. I can't wait for people to watch it and be inspired and participate in me work and journal alongside us and just really have fun and improve their life.
Yes. And I'm excited because this is a platform that we don't typically get to see. Women who love the Lord, but still like are fly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's possible, right? Mm-hmm. We're not just a single type of being. We're multifaceted. So this is going to be fun.
Amen to that. Well, another thing you all should know about is you've probably seen like promos and stuff like that is that like we are real women. We love the Lord. We also, we're in the world, but not of it. So you'll see how things play out. But this is not, a Christian Network special or a HBO special. Right. It's just an everyday connect with your friends that you can experience virtually through us.
Yes. And we're happy to be a part of it. We're going to journey together on this beautifully driven path. And I just can't wait to just get started.
Me too. So what's poppin'? That's our very first segment. We generally do this, just so you know, we generally do this at the top of every show. So Tahnee, what's poppin' with you?
So what's poppin' with me? Let's see. You got being a wife, being a mom, and working. So that's what's popping. But it's lots of fun. It keeps me busy, right? I told my daughter, I said, hey, if you need food, call me mommy. If you need help with schoolwork, call me Mrs. Johnson. So I'm trying to play the position. Which position is it? So that's what's going on with me. What's popping with you?
I kind of feel the same, like I'm balancing a lot of plates. And while it's different due to the pandemic and a lot of changes with schooling, it's exciting, but it also is a source of a bit of anxiety, being kind of like thrust into the role of an educator. But at the same time having to perform at work, without any difference, or without any consideration that I have like a double job. So it's different and it's fun and it allows me to create random backdrops. This is what I started doing during the pandemic.
It's adorable.
Thank you.
Adorable. How long does it take?
Well, this one took about 3 hours, but I just started doing it because we can't have birthday parties. So anytime it's time to celebrate, I just create a new backdrop and it's time to celebrate. So we're creating a new backdrop. And anyway, so that's what's popping with me.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers, girl. To celebrate. Too beautifully driven.
Yay! Beautifully driven.
Ching! All right. So next it's time for our segment, What Do You Meme?
Yes. So what do you mean? We see all these memes that come across the internet that are either funny or deep or just things that make you go, So what do you mean? That's exactly what this segment is. So what we're going to do this time is pull in one of our friends. So Kim, why don't you do the honors of spinning the wheel? And let's see who's going to join us.
Oh, fun. Okay. It's Nikki.
All right. Dr. Nikki. Okay, I'll call her.
Hello.
Hey, Dr. Nikki.
Hey there.
Girl, you are the chosen one. It's time to join us. So listen, click on that link. Click on that link and come on in and let's do What Do You Mean?
All right, here I come.
Okay, ciao.
And boop. Hello, everybody. Dr. Nikki's in the house.
Hey, girl.
Hey, Dr. Nikki.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, ladies. So how are y'all doing in the midst of everything and still moving forward? I got a little something for you guys because, quarantine is now a part of our lives, unfortunately, as we still trying to make our way through all of this. So I have this. It's a funny one because we need a little light brevity in our lives. So this meme will have you thinking, what do you really mean? So take a look at this.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Right. Okay. So, as you can see on the meme, you're in quarantine for 6 months with the person that is under your birth month. Are you okay? Or are you're not okay? It's not. It's a no-go for you. So,
well,
go ahead.
No.
No,
Dr. Nikki,
you're not going to go first.
I gotta pull mine up. I still gotta pull mine up on my phone. I didn't see it. Hold on.
You didn't see it? Okay. Pull it up.
Well, you brought us this mess, so I think you should go first.
Okay. All right. So, let me tell you. Under my birth month is August, and it is the ever so notorious Kim Kardashian West.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
I actually think that we're going to be good, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because between, I think, my influence, her influence, we're going to pull out the best in each other. So Kim is going to come out of there, evangelist, prophetess, teacher, Kim Kardashian West, and we're going to work together and create more beauty empires for myself. So we're going to be strategizing and sanctifying. That's what we're going to be doing.
Okay. So why does that make me think about like the old country church? You know how like the prophetess Kim comes in with her husband. Like what would it look like? What would the flyer look like? The revival flyer look like for Kim Kardashian?
Right.
You got that's another meme, I think.
Bishop Kanye and Evangelist Kim on the roster. Amen.
Yeah. So, but with Kim herself, I could work with Kim. I'm not qualified with their husband. He needs an additional level of support, but I got Kim covered.
That's what's up. Yeah. So I guess I will go now. It sounds like you're going to be fine because you got Kim and she's got you, so y'all going to be good.
Exactly.
Okay. Well,
I see your month.
Thank you.
Okay.
Unfortunately, mine is July, so I have 45.
That is funny to me.
I know. It's not funny to me, but actually, I am good. I'm not bad. I'm good. And here's why. Since this is an election year, I plan to go to the White House and help him pack up so he can move on.
I love it.
Right?
Girl,
that's the least I could do.
I had something in my mouth. Oh my goodness. You say you're going to help him pack.
Mm-hmm.
Pack. That's the least I could do. That is my, what did you call it?
Civic duty.
Bam.
I think, you know what? There would be people lined around the block at 1600 Black Lives Matter Avenue to help him park.
We'll have the assembly line when you got a box and then pass it. A box and then pass it.
Exactly. Yes.
Kim, you're not getting out of this one.
Yeah, so who's yours?
Oh, Lord,
I'm so done with y'all still. Evangelist Kim, prophetess Kim, and a
moving party.
Chain gang line to move. I don't know which one is funnier. All right. So I'm looking at mine right now, and I'm March. And honey, mine is Snoop out of all the people.
Okay.
So I think I would be like super good, like sedated, chilled out, laid back, good.
Yeah, you will.
You know what
this is true.
Straight chill.
Can you imagine how much content I would catch just hanging around him?
I know.
But yeah, I think I would be good. Like I would try not to pick up like too many bad habits. However, I would straight be on a business tip with him and like reinventing some opportunities, like with dispensaries and things that he could lean into that he's already into. I'm sure he already does it, but maybe some strategic partnerships in different worlds. I don't know, but I definitely think that we would create.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah.
And you'll have great creative minds.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. All right, so I'm looking at September, and figuratively and literally, the funniest person on here is Jim Carrey for September.
Aw, Jim Carrey.
I know. Where has he been?
I know. I love him. I love him.
I know. Like every movie in our childhood was like laced with Jim Carrey or Adam Sandler. But anyway, I digress. My best friend Flo's birthday is in September, so I wonder what they would be like together. But speaking of Flo, do you guys mind if I share her with you? I think she has an amazing story for our Beautifully Driven segment, and I would love nothing more to like text her and ask her to join us if it's
Please
okay.
do. Please do.
Okay, let me text Flo right now. Text. All right, and Flo,
Hey.
how are you?
Welcome. Come on in the room.
Hi. Thank you for having me. Hi.
All right, ladies, I'm going to introduce you to Flo, and everybody watching, I'm going to introduce you to Flo. I'm going to try to make it short because I feel like I could just go on and on and on and on forever about how wonderful she is. But this is Flo. She's one of my best friends. She is the most amazing person in the world. She started off being my mentor. I met her through my husband who worked with her husband. And my husband used to come home and tell me about this guy at work and his wife, and how wonderful she was. And the more I heard about Flo over the years, the more I fell in love with her. And I was like, I have to ask her to be my mentor because she was everything that I would hope that I would grow into being as a woman. She had a career. She has a family. She loves her husband, and they've been married for over 30 years. And I just wanted a piece of that wisdom. And I reached out to her, and she was so kind to take me under her wing. Our mentorship has changed from mentorship to friendship, back to mentorship, and all in between. And I just want to introduce you to one of my favorite people in the world, Flo.
Yay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Wow. Thank you, Kim, for that intro. You're so awesome.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, I guess we want to delve into what I need to talk about.
Yeah, well, okay, so
that's
okay. So I was telling the ladies earlier, kind of off camera, about how wonderful you are and how instrumental you've been in my growth as a woman. And I was hoping that you could like share some nuggets for people watching and for us about how you kind of traversed through life and making it over speed bumps and adversities and still landing, where you are, which is, retired and in school, like going back to school and having several businesses.
Yeah.
We just want to kind of glean from your knowledge. So tell us about you.
If I can go back just a little bit, right? I was born with a hearing impairment. It's a disability that runs on my mother's side. Everybody, even my two kids, are afflicted with it. And growing up with that, not really knowing as a young lady, how impactful that disability really can be. I didn't really realize that until I got out there in the workforce, right? And didn't really want to accept it either. Okay, I didn't. So I went through high school with it. Going through high school as a teenager, 16, 17 years old, 6 feet tall, nobody I can relate to, having the disability. It was a struggle for me in my younger years. It really, truly was. And I'll talk a little bit later about how I kind of overcame that. But, going through life, dealing with that was it wasn't an obstacle in itself, right? So I get out of high school, I go to work for the Office of Civil Rights. I got accepted there, took a job there in December of 1978. Fresh out of high school, I didn't even go to college, right? I didn't. I'm in school now. I'm pursuing my master's degree. I'm almost there, yay. But nevertheless.
How does a high schooler get a job with the government? How does that even happen?
Well, listen, it is crazy, right? So I was in what they call like the steno lab in high school. I don't know, you guys probably didn't experience that, but I graduated in 78. So to tell you about how old I am. So in the steno lab, it is a 4-hour course, in high school. And our steno lab teacher, Miss Sanders, I love her to death, I never will forget her, took the entire class downtown to take the civil service test. Now, back in the day, to get into the government, you had to take the civil service test and pass. And she took us all down there one day, didn't really, at, 16, 17 years old, didn't really understand what that meant. Okay, let's go take the test. Took the test, I passed the test. And actually, my very first job out of high school, I was working with the Ohio Savings Association in their mortgage loan department until I got my letter in the mail. I was still living with my parents at that time, and said, hey, I passed the test with a 90-something. And I shortly thereafter got a call somewhere around in November, December, from my future boss, Lucy Sells, hired me at the Office for Civil Rights, the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, which today is the Department of Education, okay? So I started there in 1978, GS3. If you know anything about the GS scale, it starts as a 3 and then goes to a 15, okay?
Okay.
And that's how I got into government. It really is. And it's a blessing. I left a couple of times, being young, not really knowing, but the impact of that. I quit a couple of times and went back. And one time was after I had my son, and we went to Germany. I had to quit and then got picked up again overseas, working for the Department of the Army in Germany. So,
wow.
yes, that's how I got started.
Hey, sorry, I interrupted you, but you were talking about your first major job.
Yes. That's my first major job. So I worked there. I worked with the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare for about 5 years. When I quit in Cleveland, I went private sector, okay? Mm-hmm. I went private sector. I started working for the Cleveland and Electric Illuminating Company, okay, which was an awesome job. They paid a whole lot more money, believe it or not. And one of the things that led me to Texas to meet my husband was I guess my sister. I have a sister husband was in the military, who was killed on Mother's Day on a motorcycle accident. And she came back to Cleveland for the funeral. He was from Cleveland as well. They were high school sweethearts. And after a couple of months, she decided, you know what, Cleveland, come on, babe, come with me, come back to Fort Hood with me. I quit. I didn't think twice about it. I quit my job with about $2,000 in my pocket. And at that time, I had my daughter, who at that time was 4.5, 5 years old. This was in 1987. And we packed up and moved. I moved with her to Fort Hood, Texas. Moved to Fort Hood, Texas. That's where I met my husband in October of '87. Met him. It was a beautiful story there. I won't go into all the details, but I think Kim knows that story. And so that's where my married life started there in Texas. My husband proposed to me. As a matter of fact, I was asleep in the bed one night, and he was there, and I woke up with a ring on my finger.
No way.
Aww.
That's so sweet.
I woke up with a ring on my finger, and that's how that happened, and we're still together today. He's the most amazing person, one of my biggest inspirations. He is why I am who I am today. He truly is.
So between, government and the GS3, and then meeting husband. No, you got okay. So you were in government before you met Malcolm, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So between that time and then Malcolm, what I want you to talk about with the ladies, because I think other people can identify with it, is some of the issues and trials that you had to overcome just to get to the point where you're, ready to get married. Or I had an abundance of them. And the major thing I had to get over was just a hearing impairment. Going through life without being able to hear appropriately and being able to actually, decipher what people are saying, and anticipate what people are saying, going through the workforce. I remember working when I quit. Before I went to work back with the VA, I was in Fort Hood. I'm working at the Scott and White Hospital. I was working in the medical services field as a transcriptionist.
and you have to wear the, you know, the headphones, and the doctors, you know, transcribing, you know, notes, operative notes, and those things. And my boss at that time noticed, I guess, that, you know, I had volume up on high, you know, I could, you know, so she called me into her office and said, you know, I think you have a problem. I knew I did because, you know, back in when I was younger, my mom, as a matter of fact, I think I mentioned that earlier, is runs prevalent on my mother's side. My mother, all three of her siblings, my mother's mother had 13 siblings, 7 of them were all afflicted, and one aunt was totally deaf. And so around the tender age of my early puberty age, I don't know how old I was, 12, 13, something like that, my mother took me to Alexander Graham Bell and had my hearing test, failed it, of course. And I remember the audiologist, I'm assuming there was an audiologist, asked me, you know, we can fit you for hearing aids. Would you like to have hearing aids? And I said no. I didn't want it. Yeah, I did. And I didn't get them. My mother didn't get them, you know. So I went through all of that and going through progressive. Now remember, well, actually not remember, but know that my hearing loss is progressive. It's degenerative. I have bilateral sensory neural hearing loss. Okay. So I'm 13, 14. And as you get older, what that means is as you get older, your hearing decreases. Okay, so I'm getting older and older and older, and my hearing is decreasing. And so I'm working over at the hospital in Scott and White, and my boss calls me in her office and says, you know, I think you have a hearing disability. Something's wrong. I noticed your volume is really loud. Everybody can hear it. She made me an appointment up in an audiology, right? I go up there and have my audiology test.
And by this time, how old were you?
At that time, this is around about 1987. That makes me about 27.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm 27 years old. I get up there, right? Get up there and take the audiologist audiology exam. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what that entails, but you're in the booth and you put these things on, and you know you get certain sounds. You have to hit a button that says, "Do I hear? I hear. Yeah." So I failed it. Of course, I failed the test. Long story short, the reason why I had not gotten hearing aids before, because number one, I didn't want them, and now I'm at a point in my life where I know I need them. And my husband encouraged me, and we made it happen. And I got my first pair of hearing aids. I go back and I get fitted. I get them in, and I go through oh my God. I'm telling you, it was like, you don't know what you don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hearing things that I never heard before. And it was so emotional, I'm crying. And I remember walking out of the office, right, and being freaked out really by like, this sound like, and I'm like, what's that? And it's like, I'm realizing there's some people, I can hear people walking, you know, on the carpet. And I get outside and I can actually hear like birds chirping and and the leaves rustling. And I'm amazed. I'm standing up there, really, truly amazed. I mean, I'm 27. I've never heard that before, and it simply is amazing. So yeah, I was afflicted with a hearing loss. Born with it. It runs in my family, my mom's side, and went through life, struggling through life with it.
But the crazy thing is, Flo, you say you're struggling through life with it, and I know you were from a physical perspective, but from the outside looking in, you continue to excel.
Okay.
So how does one do that, given that you can't even partake in a lot of the sensory experiences in life? How did you do it?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm blessed, highly favored. Number one. That's all I can say about my life when I look back at it. I really can't. I get that often, and it gives me chills when I talk about it or even think about it. I think that I picked up on this extra sense. I don't know if you guys know that when you lose a sense, you actually gain one. I'm serious. You really do. You gain a sense in terms of, I can anticipate what people are going to say. There are a whole lot of things, and then I'm an avid lip reader. I can really read lips, even to this day. But I'm going to say one thing about hearing loss. One of the advantages is, I can take my hearing aids off and be in my own little world. I don't have to worry about hearing a lot of things. Let's put a little humor with that.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, I do that often, especially with my husband. He going left. I'm like, I don't want to hear that.
That means, Flo, you always win the argument then. Okay. You always win.
Always. That's right. So,
yes.
it is a blessing. My hearing loss has been a blessing in my life. It is absolutely has been. It really has been. I have propelled, from a GS3 to a GS15 in my life, and everywhere I went, every job I had, my husband said, you make it look flawlessly. And one of the things, one of the events that stood out for me in my career was probably back in when we were in Leavenworth, Kansas, and I was working at the VA at that time, right? And we in what we call a pit, and we have all this work to do. And this lady next to me, I just did not understand, why she couldn't get things done. Her line was long, and in the checkout, and we're checking in and all this stuff at the VA. And I was so frustrated. I went to my boss. I'm like, I don't understand. I'm just so frustrated. She asked me to come to her office, as a matter of fact, and we had this conversation. And she told me in her office, she said, you know what? Everybody can't do what you do. You expect everybody to be like you. Everybody's not the same. And you have to understand that, one day because of the quality that you have, you are going to be a great leader. Wow. At that time, I'm like, what is she talking about? This was 1993, about 94, 95. And we were in Leavenworth, Kansas. And so she subsequently left after that. I was very frustrated with doing everybody's work. I think, one of the things I can say about having a disability is it makes you strive harder. It makes you, because you have it, you definitely don't want to be recognized for it. At least that is how I feel. So after she left, a couple of years later, she called me. She was in Amarillo, VA, at the Amarillo VA. And I'm still there in Leavenworth. My husband had just retired from the Army. And she called me up one day, and she was like, I have a job for you here in Amarillo, Texas. I'm like, Amarillo, where's that?
Wow. Where is that?
And she said, I would love for you and Malcolm to come and come down and see what's going on. We did. We drove from Leavenworth to Amarillo, and it was cool. And she hired me, and I worked for her again. And I went from a GS3 to a GS15 when I retired. I retired, as a matter of fact, lady, about 4 years ago already. It's been 4 years ago.
Wow.
I love it.
Yeah, from the 38 years of service, and it's just incredible. It's an amazing thing.
What did you retire as?
I'm sorry. Yes, Kimberly, thank you for that question. Yes, I retired. I went from a GS3 to a GS15. GS15, as I mentioned earlier, is the highest level you can achieve in the general schedule service with the government. And I retired as the director of the communications office here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow.
In Atlanta, Georgia, my responsibility was public affairs. I was responsible for all communication with the veterans, including all the letters, all our brochures. Any brochure you saw that comes out from the VA came from our office. Just communication. period. Public affairs.
Wow.
I loved it. I loved it.
That is just a fantastic story of tenacity, and just not letting anything that someone might consider a disability or disadvantage define you. Question that I have for you, Flo, is what advice would you give to someone who struggles with some type of disadvantage? What advice would you give them?
Great question. I could talk about this for the next 30 minutes, but I know I really could. I think that, for me, being a young lady with that, number one, was very, very difficult. Being a standout, number one, I'm tall, I'm black, I have a hearing disability, all right? And of course, my esteem was zero, next to nothing, really, as a young lady, 12, 13, 14, in those critical years.
Wow.
Really?
You need to have that. I did not have it. I didn't.
I would have never known.
I didn't. So I think that you have to actually embrace what you have and capitalize on it. I knew that was what my weakness was. At the same time was my strength. I don't know how to explain that.
Wow.
Because I knew I had that disability, so I had to be better or do more than others. And so every job, everywhere I went, I propelled because of my work ethics. And I'm going to give my mom and dad their props too for that. My dad and your mom were very, stern on, being a good worker or whatever. So that's one of the things that I know that propelled me is just having this disability and not wanting to be recognized as having a disability. And so wanting to be like other people because I never felt like I was part of other people growing up. You have to realize coming up in the 70s, 6'1", there's nobody that I could relate to.
Yeah.
Nobody, not in school. In school. And so that I think gave me the strength and the perseverance to, propel in my, not only in my career, but in my personal life as well, as trying to, improve myself.
That's awesome.
And one of the things that happened to me, I think was the turning point for me, and I would like to discuss it, but I think it's imperative that I bring this up because it is so much a part of why or who I am today. At the tender age of about 19, I was homeless.
Wow.
I was homeless.
So
I don't
never
like to talk
told me
about
this
this
story
because I get highly emotional. I do, but I think this is the platform to bring that up. I won't go into all the minute details, right? I won't go into those details. I'm gonna smile about it because it's the most beautiful thing that ever has happened to me. In hindsight, at that time, I didn't realize it, right? So got into a dispute. My sister, with 6 of us, one of my sisters and I had a dispute, and one thing led to another, and my mom asked me to leave. I'm 19 years old. I have nowhere to go. I'm working at the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. I'm still there, right? And so I have a Monte Carlo that my dad bought me. It's blue. And if I could buy that car again, I would. But that's another story.
What year is it, girl?
And so,
hold on. What year was it?
Oh, this is
the year of the car, because I'm going to look for it for you.
Okay. Right. So we're talking 1986. I left Cleveland in 1987. So I'm about 19 years old, nevertheless. And so, like I said, I won't go into the details about what happened, but my mother and I didn't agree on this situation, and she asked me to leave. She put me out. I'm 19. I have a car, and that's really all I have. I'm working at the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and so I didn't really have anywhere to go. And I'm gonna tell you what your mind does to you, what happens when something like that happens. And I think that's only because of the strength in me that is part of me, that I was able to come through that. But I wound up sleeping in my car, going to various places, strategic locations to sleep. And yes, I did for about two, maybe 3 months. And I remember going to work, right? And I used to go to work early because, go to the bathroom, trying to do what I gotta do.
Wow.
I know. I hate this story. I hate it. I hate to talk about it, but it happened. And I'm in the bathroom one morning, and one of the ladies there, Rhonda Zachariah, her name was Rhonda Bowman, but she got married. Her name was Rhonda Zachariah. She came to the bathroom one morning, and I was in there doing what I got to do. And she was, what's that? What's going on? And, I started crying.
Oh, wow.
And basically told her what happened, what's going on. And, what I was doing, sleeping in my car. I had taken everything out from my parents' house at that time and was in my car, in my trunk. And the 1974 Monte Carlo is really roomy. The trunk is big.
There we go. Right.
Yeah. So, nevertheless, that conversation, one thing led to another, and I wind up staying with her for a couple of months, sleeping on her couch in the living room.
Wow.
For a couple of months before I got my own spot. Yeah. That right there was the turning point for me in my life.
That's
and why don't you like telling that story?
Right.
Well, one thing I told myself, I would never, ever, ever, ever ask anybody for anything. And I haven't ever. I don't ask people for nothing. I don't want nothing. I wanted to be able to do for myself. And that pivotal point in my life was just so amazing. When I look back, I get teary-eyed when I talk about it, because it's like, as bad as it was then, I didn't see it then. Now I see it. It was the turning point. It strengthened me.
Wow.
It made me who I am today. My mother and I had a beautiful relationship. My mother, after that, lived with me for over 20 years, my husband and I.
Yeah, you guys were thick as thieves.
Yeah. And I often thank her for that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's a crazy story. It's crazy, but I thank her for that. I do.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for sharing that, because it's a beautiful example of your brilliance and, again, your tenacity and perseverance, and the gift of unexpected sisterhood and provision through all of these broken moments. And so that really led to a bold and beautiful life, really.
Amen.
Yeah. And you stand up in that, and you just shine so bright, you glow from within. I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And one of my questions is, because of all of these wonderful attributes that you have and exhibit, what's one of the secret ingredients that you could share with us, or give us the cheat code, if you will, to your longevity in your career, and not just your career, but outside of that, in the multifaceted and multi-passionate avenues that you've traveled through entrepreneurship?
Wow, what a great question. There, I can talk about this for the next 10 minutes, but if I can shorten it somewhat, it is really recognizing, right, your strength.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to the realization of who you are, number one. I think that is the major thing for me, and the frustration that I had initially, as a teenager, a young lady, just, not being accepted, just being an outcast, because that's where I felt. I felt like an outcast. It really did. And nobody liked me. You just gotta, in the 70s, now today, in the, in this time, day and age, we have a whole lot more women who are, tall. Back then, there was not, really, truly. And so, just building on my self-esteem, recognizing my frustrations at that point, and then capitalizing on them. I never was one of those type of, I'm not that woman who just like, oh, woe is me. I just didn't. I overcame all those weaknesses of not being like everybody else, not being like, the other girl, just not being that person, and just realizing that. But that didn't come until later on in life. They really didn't for me. It was a gradual thing for me. And it was my husband who really, really, truly helped me through it all.
That's beautiful.
He was very instrumental in that, and I think that you just got to recognize that. I think you need to and balance your have the balance in life, and that's so important, to have that balance, and that's really what I think it for me. That's what it was.
Awesome.
That's
Thank
so
you.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
So beautiful. Flo, we want to thank you so much for joining us. I think you've given us quite some nuggets, and I believe you've given us something that we can use to take for us to become better, right? This is a journey, and Dr. Nikki mentioned the sisterhood. We all need people, and I think even your testimony, you recognize as much as you wanted to be independent and I've got this, right? It was the fact that someone stepped up and partnered with you, that you saw that there's something in that, God did not create us to be alone. So what a fantastic story.
Yes, beautiful.
Thank you, friend.
So much for having me, ladies. It was it's beautiful. I thank you so much. Wonderful.
We love you.
I love you too. Thank you,
Bye.
ladies.
Ciao.
Thank you. Love you.
Bye, Flo.
Thank you. Wow. I would say what a first wonderful example of being beautifully driven is all about.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen. I am speechless, and I know her very well, but I don't know. I kind of wanted to get a time machine and go back and kick all of the butts of the people that made her feel like an outcast.
I know.
I know.
Right?
Only they talked about my friend.
Right. Yeah. That was it will tug at your heart, but I call it collateral beauty.
Yeah.
We typically think about and talk about collateral damage, but even that Will Smith movie, Collateral Beauty, all the things that you think are where you've been forsaken, or things that have been trials and tribulations, turn out literally for your good. And it's the collateral beauty we should lean in on more so than all of the bad. So that's really what I got from that. That was, thank you, Kim.
Tahnee,
I love that.
Kim, thank you for sharing her with us.
Exactly.
Man, it was my pleasure. I mean, every time she speaks, I glean something new and something different. And I just thank God for the Holy Spirit just kind of nudging me and saying, when you know how people are with like no new friends.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to meet new people. And we've been friends for over 10 years. But I mean, that was one of those moments I just kind of put myself on the line. It was like, hey, I got to meet this lady. And I got to figure out how to allow her, how she can say yes. I have to convince her to say yes to mentoring me. And we used to meet like every Saturday and have brunch, and I would have a notebook. And the Saturday after, I would, hold myself accountable and show it to her so that she knew that her time wasn't wasted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, speaking of notebooks.
Yes.
Yeah, speaking of notebooks, so this brings us to our next segment, which is Me Work. And so Me Work is when we take our beautifully driven segment and we then walk away with one or two actionable items that we can journal, discuss, and travel on this journey together. This beautifully driven journey, should I say, together.
Yes.
So let's dive into that from a Me Work standpoint.
So from a Me Work standpoint, I think that one of the many things that we can use to pull from Flo's, amazing life is first identify your strengths.
Yes.
Okay.
There are a lot of her experiences pointed back to not focusing on her weakness, but leaning into her strength. She continued to excel because she wasn't distracted by what she wasn't good at or what she wasn't physically capable of. She leaned into her God-given calling and talent.
So how would we do that? What are some things that you can think of that us and our viewers can also do, since this is actionable? What does that look like? Identifying your strengths. Yeah.
Well, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because my husband asked me that the other day about work. And I think we all like have blanks when people say, what are you good at? Or what do you offer a team? And so I had to quickly rely upon like common themes that other people said about me, be it my boss or my performance reviews or, you know, my friends. And so one of the things that a friend of mine complained about doing some admin work for my family a few years ago, probably like 15 years ago, one of my very close friends, Allison Duncanson, I love her. She was just like, instead of complaining about it, why don't you just do it? That's what you're called to do in your family. So why don't you do it? I think I was complaining about booking flights for my mom. I was like, she always calling me about the internet. You know?
Not the mom,
And
the
so,
internet.
yeah. And in that same way, look at the things that people are calling upon you for, what God has said he's called you to do, and what you do well. And you can quickly identify your strengths and lean into those, and don't let the world continually point out your weaknesses. Yes, we want to work on our weaknesses, but we also want to use our strengths to continue to propel us and level us up.
That's right. So,
definitely.
So Kim, I heard you say lean into those. So first, me work is identify them, and now lean into them. So Dr. Nikki, what would you say as it relates to leaning into your strengths? What does that look like?
When I say leaning into your strengths, it's all about, to me, amplifying those things that you know that you bring to work, to life, that, as Kim said, sometimes you do it so well that you don't even notice. And you get like, oh, you do it so well. And people may you may take that for granted. Because what would take you 10 minutes to do, it might take two people 3 hours to do.
That's right.
And so once you identify that, recognize, and while you're leading into your strengths, you also understand and know what those weaknesses are and where you need development, and shine the light on people who are smarter than you in that area. Just like people pull on you for your strengths.
Exactly.
Shine the light on those who can build up your weak areas, so that you can shine bright together and everybody is holding each other up.
You know, Dr. Nikki, that reminds me of a lot of professionals, and in corporate America, for example, we typically, when we have our annual reviews or things of that nature, you'll hear a manager say, hey, you know, this is an opportunity, right? That's code for a weakness. And they really want you to spend time developing in those areas. But sometimes we might need to take a moment and really start to lean in on those strengths, because our calling might be attached to those strengths.
Exactly.
And so then you'll be wasting time trying to strengthen something that you're intentionally weak in. God may have made you weak in that area for a minute, right? For that moment, because you need to focus on your strengths, right? So got to be careful that what did you say, Kim? I think you said something to me, your calling versus your capability. Is that what you
recognizing
said?
your calling versus your capability, so that you don't get distracted with 1,000 capabilities and ignore that one thing that's your calling. I think that is the theme of like Flo's career and her home life and her friendships, is that she understood what she was called to do, and that was not to focus on her disadvantage or her disability, but she was called to add, organization to chaos. She was called to bring peace to her family. And she was called to be a hyper-focused individual, no matter what's going on around her. And those strengths essentially is what, helped to catapult her into, the lifestyle that she lives right now, which is very simple, peaceful, retired, do whatever she want to do. It's not anything like we see on MTV Cribs, but it's essentially what the soul wants. A peaceful existence, being happy about your contribution and your calling to the world. That's what really matters, because the Bible says, build your hopes on things eternal. And it's the things that not things that we can touch and feel. And that's what I love about Flo's life, is that she has built her hopes on things eternal.
Amen. I love it.
Only what you do for Christ will last.
That's it. That's it. So takeaways, our me work, ladies.
Yes.
Identify your strengths,
Mm-hmm.
and 2, lean into them. Right?
Yes.
So won't you partner and journey with me on this beautifully driven
Yes.
path to
That's
doing
right.
just that? Will you join me?
Yes.
Oh,
and
definitely.
I will.
Okay.
I will. But I also want our viewers to join us on that.
Absolutely.
Not just a 3-way conversation about
Not at all.
our expectation is that these 2 points, which are identify your strengths, I have to read them. I'm not as good as Tahnee. I have a horrible memory. Identify your strengths and lean into your strengths. You need to write those down, and we will follow up with you, and you can follow up with us on our social platforms about how you're doing. And then our last episode, we'll do a live check-in of some sort, or through social media, we'll do a live check-in with you, and so that you can tell us how you are leaning into your strengths and identifying your strengths as a woman.
Wonderful.
This is fantastic.
And if I could add one more thing to that, when we identify our strengths and lean into them, understand that God's grace is sufficient for us. And that covers us through the weaknesses as we lean on and lean into our strengths. So give yourself grace. God's given you some, give some to yourself.
Absolutely.
Well,
Ladies, this has been so fantastic.
Yes. And
all
love
right,
you
so
right
it
back.
sounds like, oh, sorry, what'd you say?
I just said, and love you right back.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, we had some homework.
Yes.
Me
work.
We've got some me work. Thank you,
Dr. Me work.
Work.
That's good. I like that.
All right, y'all. Well, it's been fun. I can't wait to talk to you guys again very, very, very soon. And I appreciate everyone for watching us, kikiing with us, shedding a tear with us as we, relive Flo's life right alongside her. I thank you for the opportunity to allow us to encourage you and to keep you accountable for your me work. Until next time, we are beautifully driven and we appreciate you. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Ciao.
Let's go.